a room full of people. Each one wears a mask, some smiling, some serious. They trade pleasantries through painted lips and careful words. It's a game, a dance. Everyone knows the steps. Now, someone walks in without a mask. No pretense, no strategy. Just an open, honest face. Watch how the room reacts. The smiles tighten. The polite conversation stills. He approaches, and his sincerity is like a cold wind. He doesn't play the game, he doesn't seem to know the rules, or maybe he just refuses to follow them. The others look at him, and they don't see a person. They see a problem. They see a fool. Or maybe, deep down, they see a threat. Because in a world of masks, the most dangerous thing you can be is yourself. How long can a person like that last? How quickly is he dismissed, used, and then broken by a world that cannot understand him? This is not just a story. It is a painful question about human nature. And it's a question that remains just as real today as it was over a century ago. If being good leads to suffering, is it still worth it? This isn't just a thought experiment, it's the story of a man who was too good for the world he lived in, a character from an old Russian book, Prince Myshkin. He is the protagonist of The Idiot by Fyodor Dostoevsky. His problem wasn't a lack of intelligence. His problem was an almost complete inability to be anything but honest, compassionate, and sincere. He walks into the high society of 19th century Russia, a world of strategic marriages, hidden motives, and constant competition for status and power. He does not know how to manipulate or deceive, nor does he want to. He believes in the goodness of human nature. He speaks with complete honesty, never calculating how his words might be received. He gives without expecting anything in return. He forgives people who betray him over and over again. In a society built on secrets and self-interest, his goodness wasn't seen as a virtue. It was a disability. The people around him call him an idiot, not because he can't think, but because his goodness makes him hopelessly vulnerable. This is the tragic heart of the story. We like to think that we admire honesty, kindness, and integrity. We teach these values to our children. We praise them in public. But do we really? Or do we just tolerate them when they don't get in our way? The people who rise to power, the ones who succeed, are rarely the purely good ones. They are the ones who understand the dark complexities of human relationships. Hundreds of years ago, the political thinker Niccolo Machiavelli wrote that a leader must be willing to act immorally to get things done. He argued that the world does not reward goodness, it rewards results. Prince Myshkin is the opposite of this. He cannot bring himself to be ruthless, even to protect himself. He refuses to hide his true intentions behind a carefully built persona, and for this he is ridiculed, manipulated, and in the end, completely broken. His fate is a reflection of a painful truth. In a world that thrives on competition, a person of pure heart is often at a disadvantage. We see it all the time. The kind person taken advantage of, the honest one betrayed by those they trust. How many of us have felt foolish for believing the best in someone only to be let down? Dostoevsky isn't saying the world is entirely evil, but he is saying that a certain level of cunning is often needed just to survive. The tragedy of Prince Myshkin is that he walks into this complicated, dangerous world with no armor, no shield, nothing but his own good. So why does this happen? Why is a good person so often pushed away? The easy answer is that they are naive and get taken advantage of. But maybe the real reason is more uncomfortable. A truly good person acts as a mirror. When we look at them, we sometimes see our own flaws reflected back at us. Their sincerity highlights our own small deceptions. Their compassion makes our own selfishness more obvious, and nobody likes to be reminded of that. There's a concept in psychology called cognitive dissonance. It's the uncomfortable feeling you get when your actions don't match your beliefs about yourself. Most of us like to think we are kind, decent people. But then we meet someone like Prince Myshkin, someone who is unconditionally good, and it creates a tension inside us. We see their selflessness, and it forces us to confront all the times we chose to put ourselves first. We have two choices. We can either look in that mirror, accept our own imperfections, and try to be better, or we can do something much easier. We can reject the mirror. We can find a reason to dismiss the good person. This is what happens to Myshkin. The people around him don't want to confront their own hypocrisy, so instead of admiring him, they reject him. They call him a fool. They tell themselves he is unrealistic, impractical, that his level of goodness is simply not possible for a normal person. They might even search for flaws in him, trying to prove he's not as pure as he seems. Anything to lessen that uncomfortable feeling, that cognitive dissonance. Think about how we react to stories of incredible selflessness. The person who dedicates their entire life to helping others. We say we admire them, but there can be a strange discomfort there too. Their goodness feels like a judgment, even if they never say a word. Their very existence exposes our own compromises. And so, we create distance. We put them on a pedestal, calling them saints or heroes, because that makes them different from us. It makes their goodness seem unattainable, something we can admire from afar without having to actually live up to it. It's a strange thing, isn't it? We think we want perfect goodness in our lives, but when we are actually faced with it, we find it overwhelming, even suffocating. Goodness without limits, without the usual human flaws, is something most people simply do not know how to handle. It disrupts the normal social games of give and take. It doesn't follow the rules. And so, instead of celebrating the person who breaks the mold, society often isolates them. They are too much, too bright. It is easier to call them a fool and walk away, leaving them alone in the dark. We have the whole thing backward. We think goodness is a strategy for a better life, a way to get respect, love, or success. We operate on a simple, almost unspoken contract with the world. If I am good, good things will happen to me. But what if it's not a strategy at all? What if true goodness doesn't care about results? This is where the story becomes even more complex and profound. Despite all the suffering he goes through, Prince Myshkin does not regret his kindness. He doesn't become bitter or cynical. He doesn't wish he could be more like the calculating people around him. In this, Dostoevsky offers a difficult but liberating idea. The value of goodness is not determined by the world's reaction to it. In other words, being good is not about the outcome. It's not about being praised or loved or even understood. It's not about winning. It has nothing to do with success or recognition. Goodness, in its purest form, exists for its own sake. It is valuable simply because it is good. This idea is deeply challenging because it goes against almost everything we are taught. We are conditioned to measure our actions by their results. We expect fairness. We expect justice. We believe that if we put good into the world, we should get good back. We think of kindness as a transaction. I will be kind to you so that you will be kind to me. But true goodness isn't transactional. It doesn't ask, what will I get in return? It simply exists. It is an act of giving without any expectation of receiving. Prince Myshkin embodies this. He loves without demanding to be loved back. He helps without needing to be thanked. He forgives without expecting an apology. His goodness is not a tool he uses to get something. It is simply who he is. And this creates a paradox. If goodness doesn't need to be rewarded, if it exists independently of success, then does it have any real power? If it doesn't change the world in obvious ways, if it so often leads to the suffering of the good person, then what is its purpose? This is the final, unsettling question at the heart of the book. Because while Myshkin suffers, he also leaves an undeniable mark on everyone he meets. Even the people who mock him and reject him cannot forget him. In some way, big or small, they are changed by their encounter with him. This suggests that while goodness may not win in the way we usually think of winning, it has a different kind of power, a quieter, deeper, more lasting power than we might first realize. A power that doesn't operate on the world's terms, but on its own. This isn't just Dostoevsky's idea. History is full of these good fools, people who challenged the system not with anger, but with integrity. They held up a mirror, and the world, not liking the reflection, often tried to break the mirror. Think of the ancient Greek philosopher Socrates. He spent his life wandering Athens, asking uncomfortable questions about justice, virtue, and truth. He didn't claim to have the answers. He just forced people to examine their own beliefs. He was not a threat because of his power or wealth, but because his relentless honesty exposed the ignorance of those in charge. And for this, they called him a corrupter of youth and sentenced him to death. Centuries later, you see the same pattern. Figures like Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr. They led movements based on ideals of nonviolence, truth, and compassion. They were met with fierce opposition, persecution, and ultimately violence. Why? Because their goodness was disruptive. True goodness challenges the status quo. It forces people to confront their own compromises, their own selfishness, their own quiet acceptance of injustice. Most people, whether they admit it or not, don't want to be confronted. They want to continue living as they always have, comfortable in their routines and their justifications. A truly good person threatens that comfort simply by existing. When Prince Myshkin enters Russian high society, he does not fit into its structure. He is an anomaly, something that cannot be easily explained or categorized. He doesn't play the games of power and status. And when a system encounters an anomaly, it has two choices. It can either absorb it, forcing it to conform, or it can cast it out. Myshkin, unwilling and unable to change, is ultimately cast out. So, the suffering of the good person is not necessarily a sign of their weakness or foolishness. Perhaps it is a sign of their strength. It is proof that they have remained true to themselves in a world that is constantly trying to corrupt them. Their hardship isn't proof that goodness failed. On the contrary, it is often proof of the impact they had. It shows that they were a genuine threat to the comfortable lies a society tells itself. Their stories are tragic, yes, but they are not stories of meaningless suffering. They are the stories of what happens when an immovable ideal meets a world that is all too willing to move its morals for the sake of convenience. They lost it, so we are left with a choice. It's not a grand, historic decision. It's not about becoming a martyr or a saint. It's the small, quiet choice you have to face, maybe tomorrow morning, maybe even today. Life will present you with moments where you can play the game or you can be true to yourself. Do you wear the mask that makes things easier? Do you say the polite thing instead of the honest one? Do you compromise a little bit of what you believe in to get ahead, to protect yourself, to avoid conflict? Most of the time, the world rewards this. It's the sensible path, the smart path. Or do you risk being the fool, the one who insists on being sincere in a world that values performance, the one who chooses compassion when self-interest is the easier option, the one who remains true to their ideals even when it comes at a cost, even if no one is watching, even if you get nothing in return? There is no easy answer here. Dostoevsky doesn't give us one. Being purely good, like Prince Myshkin, can lead to immense pain in a world not built for it. Protecting yourself, using a bit of cunning, is a necessary survival skill. This is the choice every person must navigate, a constant balance between the ideal we want to be and the reality of the world we live in. Perhaps the true measure of a life is not in how much you gain or how much you win, but in the small moments where you choose light, even when you are surrounded by shadows. It's not about changing the world. It's about not letting the world change the core of who you are. In the final pages of The Idiot, Prince Myshkin's fate is sealed. He is broken by the cruelty and complexity of the world around him, a fool to the last. But Dostoevsky leaves us with a dark, unsettling question, one that he never answers for us because we each have to answer it for ourselves. Was Myshkin a fool for not understanding the world? Or was he, in the end, the only one who truly saw it for what it was and simply couldn't bear it? In a world that so often runs on deception and self-interest, choosing to be good despite everything is the most powerful and perhaps the most insane choice of all.